the panel. We found it particularly telling on government side that never in any part of their speech did they mention the interests of the accused. They made the assumption that these people are victims and that the rape already happened, which is something that is not really true because this is a case of the accused and not the guilty. So first, let's talk about this rape truly is an abhorrent crime. In fact, it is so despicable that in many states, in the United States, it is considered a heinous crime that can be punished to the full extent of the law, which oftentimes is the death penalty, the taking of a life. With consequences as great as this, when we deal with human life which cannot be replaced, which cannot be taken away, and which is the most fundamental thing that has to be protected, the law cannot leave any room for doubt. The law cannot leave any room for error, lest we risk condemning an innocent man to the death. So opposition's clash is clear. We believe that the cross-examination of a rape victim's sexual history is an absolutely invaluable tool in determining the veracity of certain statements and bringing out the ulterior motives of the prosecution. And furthermore, we say that the law must be firm and err on the side of caution, because if any shroud of doubt remains, then it is human life that is at stake, and that is something that we cannot allow. Because we'd rather let 20 people who committed rape go free, guilty men go free, than condemn one single innocent man to death. That is why you're innocent until proven guilty. So let me talk then about, let's start off with two rebuttals. First, they talk about this right to privacy and how this right to privacy has to be protected. However, they fail to consider that there are other rights and there are other people who are at stake. And therefore, we in opposition side have to be reasonable and strike a balance between the right to privacy and protecting the justice system and making sure there is a fair trial. Because this person is accused, there is this assumption that that there's a chance that he didn't do it. And so, we have to make sure that every single bit of evidence comes out, that there's absolutely no shroud of doubt. And the only thing that they can say is, what is the link between sexual history and actually showing that this person had something to do with it. And all they tell us that that's ineffective, and that's my second rebuttal. We tell you it's not about the promiscuity of the person. That's not about the sexual history being loose or being propensity that it wasn't really rape. The thing is, when we talk about sexual history, we see if this person had previous involvement with that person, if they had sexual relations before, and if it was consensual. The fact that it was consensual before shows that there are many ulterior motives that could arise. For example, that sex before that was consensual, what changed that made it happen that he doesn't want to have sex anymore? Maybe he just has a vendetta against the boyfriend. Maybe he just wants to get revenge. There's so many ulterior motives that must be brought up, that must be gauged to eliminate all shroud of doubt, especially when life is at stake. So now, I'm going to tell you three things. First, I'm going to talk to you about the role of examination in determining the veracity of the statement and how exactly sexual history fits in. Next, I'm going to tell you about the nature of the court and the law and how it always errs on the side of caution, something they completely neglect on the principle level. And finally, we're going to nuance this on the furthest level. We'll talk about when human life is at stake, no compromises must be made. So first, let's talk about what happens in cross-examination. Like government side conceded, it is the questioning of the person to determine the veracity of the statement, to show that there's no inconsistency in the thing. And then we concede that in certain situations, if a government was stronger and argued, for example, that a person is not in the correct state of mind, that the statements might not be accurate because it is questioning, then we say that it is an unfortunate circumstance, but one that we have to live with, because there are other cases where this is not so. Because oftentimes, in many times, the prosecution has this ulterior motive to actually punish the accused, despite no crime being committed. Because let's talk about what happens in the justice system in the US. They follow a jury system. And what's the thing with the jury system? With the jury system, it's civilians. Civilians who are judging the criminal of an action. And so, there's already an inherent bias for these people when you look at their mindsets to err on the side of the victim, to feel that they're pulled through their heartstrings, that this is the victim, we have to root for this is the underdog. And furthermore, we say that the prosecutor is simply not a saint, and is not always the victim. Because there are always ulterior motives, there are always these so many hidden things that must be brought out. And let's talk about how these ulterior motives are brought out through the cross-examination of sexual history. Because when we examine sexual history, we see the previous relations, we see what could have happened, what what things led to the supposed rape, which might not have happened at all. Because when we look at that, we see that if we discover any hint of doubt, then what alternative are the brings? Are they just going to trust the veracity of the statement right away and suddenly condemn a man to death, condemn a man to rape, and take away his life? We see that that is not how the law works. The law is always innocent until proven guilty, and then the people would rather let 20 guilty men go free than condemn one single innocent man to death. Because the law errs on the side of caution. The law only prosecutes and only punishes when there is absolutely no room for reasonable doubt. And we say that reasonable strongly exists within our frame. Because we say that this, in their frame, that might happen. But the fact is, there are other scenarios, there are other cases where what I'm saying happens. And because they're talking about a blanket policy which affects all these cases, the law has to err on the side of caution. That the law cannot compromise its beliefs, the law cannot compromise in order to help the victim, because the accused also has something to lose, the accused has something to face. This nuances further to the crime of rape. The crime of rape is oftentimes, in many states, is punishable by the death penalty, the taking of the life. And a right to life is something that's so fundamental, that is the thing that must be protected at all costs. But it is irreplaceable, and all other rights, privacy, choice, stem from that. And so, when we are faced with the idea of privacy versus the right to life must always take precedence. Because life is valuable, because human life is at stake. And if we're going to take this person, if there's even a hint, say a small, slim chance that we're condemning an innocent man to the death, if we're even condemning this person to chance, then we say the law must not compromise, that there is no other better avenue to make sure there is no reason of blood, there is no better avenue to reveal these ulterior motives that may be happening, and ultimately, that cross-examination is the best and only way that we cannot compromise on. And if we want to protect the life, and if we want to strike a balance of these rights, the law must err on caution. And with that, we are proud to oppose.